your Keystone project. I love it. I love it.
Essentially, this is I guess, one example of applying the principles into a presentation format.
Yeah. And actually,
I already see them.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying I already know that there's some elements, and I'm like, okay, I put them in purposefully to see what happens, and then I'm sure we'll find out where we go from there.
Well, I'm excited to see this.
Cool. All right.
We'll leave it. Let me give it to where you can share. Sorry. Okay, now you can.
All right. So share my screen. Okay. So welcome to our learning space, where today we are going to be engaging in an experience around purpose-centered leadership, unleashing the power of transformative meaning in the workplace and in the world. So I want to say welcome. Please come in from wherever you are around the world. Welcome and come in, and let's get started in our experience. We're going to be talking about the power of purpose. And purpose is such an important conversation in our world today. And through this dynamic experience where we're going to be collaborating and co-creating new meanings and exploring new possibilities around purpose, I just want to open up our session with a couple of framing ideas around purpose. And that purpose is kind of like this compass, right? That when we have it, we have a way of looking at the world and showing up in our workplace as leaders, as well as really being able to make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. Purpose provides a sense of direction. It also provides a sense of connection, right? When we have a purpose, it feels like we're more connected to the way in which we're showing up for ourselves. We're more connected through the power of purpose to how we may show up and interact with others. And we're also more connected in terms of how it is we show up to serve in the world. And so purpose not only provides a sense of direction and connection, but it also provides us a sense of confidence. When we have a sense of purpose and we know what it is that we're here to do, whether it's in the workplace or out, in our own personal lives, we feel a sense of confidence, because purpose provides clarity. And it also invites us to not just only be clear about what something means to us, but how we can move forward with it. But without purpose, it feels like sometimes like we're all over the place. We could be there, here, anywhere. We feel like we have no sense of direction. We feel like we're just kind of floating without really knowing where we're going. And, it reminds me of the Alice in Wonderland moment where she's asked, which way is she going? And she doesn't know. And it's like, well, anywhere can get you there. And so what I want us to do is to actually go into an exploration of purpose. And the first question that we're going to be looking into is, how can purpose enhance my leadership and help me create a better future for myself and the world? So just take 60 seconds. And no one's going to see these, whatever you're writing. This is just for you. Just take 60 seconds and write down, how can purpose enhance my leadership and help me create a better future for myself and the world? Okay, so there we go. They go 60 seconds. Do I have to do the 60 seconds?
That's your 60-second timer.
Okay. And so what does purpose mean to you? We're going to start our session with just asking that, and just taking 2 minutes right now and write down what purpose means to you and why it matters to you. Okay. Da-da-da-da. So Rich says this, Kieran says this, I says this. And so what I want to do now is, now that we've kind of looked at the nature of purpose and looked at why it matters and, explored how it can make a meaningful difference in in the workplace and out in the world, I want to get us started in hearing from a couple of different experts and a bit of research out in the space around purpose. So we're going to start with a video that goes into the nature of purpose and goes even deeper as it relates to meaning.
Why do you do what you do? What creates a sense of purpose for you? Is it working? Volunteering? Being with your family? These are not trivial questions. Research shows that having a strong sense of purpose creates more meaning in life, improves health, and leads to greater satisfaction from work. purpose means intention, having a stable, far-reaching goal. When we're pursuing our purpose, we feel our lives are more meaningful. Now, meaning is an abstract concept, but recently behavioral scientists have made progress toward understanding it better and even measuring it. I recently conducted a study with my colleagues, Roy Baumeister, Kathleen Boss, and Emily Garbinski, where we asked adults to rate on a 7-point scale whether their lives were meaningful. We also asked about their beliefs, behaviors, and choices. Those who deemed their lives most meaningful were those that gave the most to others. These same people also felt the most strongly connected to the past and future, not just the here and now. They had a strong sense of where they came from and an equally strong sense of where they're going, a purpose. So the feeling of meaning increases when we feel connected to others and something bigger than ourselves. When we feel we're part of a story that started in the past and concludes well into the future. What's more, meaning is not something you just have or don't have. It's more about your mindset. When individuals adopt a meaning mindset, they behave in very different ways. In one study, 2 researchers, Veronica Huta and Richard Ryan, had half of their subjects adopt a meaning mindset by asking them to do one thing each day to create meaning. These activities, like strengthening a social connection, pursuing excellence, or helping others, often required effort. Yet 3 months later, these subjects reported less negative moods and more positive feelings about their social connections, suggesting that meaning can decrease stress and boost well-being in the long run. As people find more meaning in their lives, they also tend to get healthier. Psychologist Carol Riff and her colleagues demonstrated this in a study that tracked thousands of people over time. The people living more meaningful lives, by their own account, were healthier than those who, while happy, did not have the same sense of meaning. The high meaning people had higher levels of good cholesterol, healthier weight, they even slept better. They had lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, in their saliva, and were at lower risk for cardiovascular disease and Alzheimer's disease. They also lived longer. To figure out why, researchers had subjects report their levels of meaning and then put the subjects into an fMRI machine. Then they showed them images of negative things like crying babies or car accidents. The participants then rated whether the images were neutral or unpleasant. The brain scans showed that the high meaning people had less activity in the amygdala, the part of the brain that processes fear. They also reacted more slowly to the negative images, taking longer to decide whether the pictures were unpleasant. In other words, people with high meaning in life are better able, with the help of their prefrontal cortex, to control their negative emotions. They're better able at putting things in perspective. These findings have implications for work too. People who feel their work lacks meaning are more likely to slack off or feel dissatisfied with their employers. The problem is most people feel this way about their work. At least that was the case in one large-scale study which tracked over 12,000 employees across a broad range of categories and showed 50% lacked a sense of meaning at work. The employees who did derive meaning from their work were more than 3 times as likely to stay with their companies. They also reported 1.7 times higher job satisfaction and were 1.4 times more engaged at work. Which brings us back to the original question. Why do you do what you do? If you work only for the money, chances are you're less effective than you can be. But if your answer entails meaning, your work helps you become part of a bigger story and feel connected to others, then it will help you be stronger, healthier, and more resilient.
So there you have it, the power of meaning and purpose. Now there's another concept that has become quite prevalent and known in the world, known as ikigai, which is actually a Japanese term that means a reason for being. Now, in 2017, a best-selling book came out by Ken Moji about ikigai. But before that, it actually became rather famous from a mention that was written in a book about, how to live to be 100. And so this book by Ken Buch, can't remember his name, sorry about that. My brain is going, it's Ken Butich, I can never say his name. Anyway, it speaks about, what are some of the attributes that people who live to be 100 that they possess. And so he's traveling around different places in the world, and he settled on kind of doing one segment on Okinawa, the people of Okinawa. And so this concept of ikigai is really about a connection between what you love, what you're good at, which is essentially your passion, as well as what the world needs. And when you connect what the world needs and what you love, that's a sense of mission. But then when you connect what you can be paid for, that really speaks to your vocation. So ikigai is a sense of purpose or a reason for being that sits at the center of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you also can be paid for. But let's hear from Simon Sinek as he kind of talks about it in the context of the world of business and leadership.
I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done. That's how most sales is done. And that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do. We say how we're different or how we're better. And we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat screen TVs. They've been making flat screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. When we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. Sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and your figures and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right, because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't the other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal?
And so there you have it, about the power of why, and how that's where we start from as leaders. That's where we start from when we're trying to market, to share, but it's also where we come from when it comes to how we can actually not only show up in the work environment, but also extend from what we do at work, and then how we actually make a difference in the world. Let's listen to this video from Korn Ferry.
No amount of what and how can ever compensate us for a lack of why. Has performance become our purpose? And if performance has become our purpose, our organizational life can be very tough, and it can be very cold, and it can be very ruthless. Despite all of our great achievements, we have to ask ourselves, why? And what are we going to become? So the challenge is moving from performance being our purpose to having purpose drive our performance to new heights. It's transformative to the individuals on your team. It's transformative to the organization, and it can be transformative to how we serve customers. So the real challenge is alignment. How do we get clear and aligned with our own personal core purpose? Why are we here? What are we going to create? Then we get aligned with our team. What is our team purpose and mission? And ultimately, what are we serving in terms of the broader organization and society? And when these levels of purpose are aligned, we're energized, we're in a service mindset, and we're creating tremendous value for all the constituencies that we touch.
And so just like Kevin Clashman just said about that purpose should drive performance, we're starting to see that purpose is beginning to play a different type of role out in the world of business, moving from what was known as shareholder value to really this notion of stakeholder value, and honoring and incorporating the voices and the perspectives and the needs from a variety of different people. The touch points, like the customer, the suppliers, the employees, the communities, and the shareholders. And purpose now is playing a very important role, moving us from what was known before as a single bottom line, where business was only concerned primarily with profits, to now what's known as a quadruple bottom line, where we move into not only looking at profits, but people, planet, as well as purpose. And so we have the voice of Larry Fink with us, who's going to be sharing about a very famous letter that he wrote a couple of years ago about the role of purpose. And Larry Fink is basically the head of an investment firm. Some people call it the world's investment firm, BlackRock. And he wrote this very sensational letter that really kind of took the business world by storm. And so we've just actually taken a couple of snippets from his speech. So here we go. Let's listen to Larry Fink.
Hello. My name is Larry Fink, and in 2019, I wrote a letter that shook the business world. I want to share some of it with you today. Here it goes. The importance of serving stakeholders and embracing purpose is becoming increasingly central to the way that companies understand their role in society. As I have written in past letters, a company cannot achieve long-term profits without embracing purpose and considering the needs of a broad range of stakeholders. A pharmaceutical company that hikes prices ruthlessly, a mining company that shortchanges safety, a bank that fails to respect its clients. These companies may maximize returns in the short term. But, as we have seen again and again, These actions that damage society will catch up with a company and destroy shareholder value. By contrast, a strong sense of purpose and a commitment to stakeholders helps a company connect more deeply to its customers and adjust to the changing demands of society. Ultimately, purpose is the engine of long-term profitability. I closed my letter with these final words. Companies must be deliberate and committed to embracing purpose and serving all stakeholders, your shareholders, customers, employees, and the communities where you operate. In doing so, your company will enjoy greater long-term prosperity, as will investors, workers, and society as a whole. Can you see why purpose matters? I hope you will join me in placing purpose at the center of how we move the world of business forward.
And so that's from Larry Fink's.
Hello.
Oh, that's from Larry Fink's letter. And so what we're seeing here is really about, from different multiple perspectives about how purpose provides a sense of direction, a sense of connection, and a sense of confidence in how we can move forward. What I want us to do before we move into the next segment of our session today is to also introduce just one more last framework about purpose and how purpose itself, this comes from Hardin Tibbs, and he speaks about this idea of the future as a strategic landscape, and that there's who we are, there's the challenges we have to face, but there's always this guiding force, what he calls the star. And this star is something that helps guide us, which can be seen as kind of our purpose. But this star, I would invite us to consider it as something that also lives inside of us. And so as we're looking out and saying, okay, I want to get to understand what is my purpose, it lives out there in terms of, a potential destination that you may be journeying towards, but the purpose also lives inside of you. And so we've been delving deeply into purpose. And now it's time to reflect upon everything that we've taken in from the multiple perspectives, as well as our initial thoughts. And so I'm going to ask you a series of questions. First and foremost, what was surprising to you? Just take some time and write it down. Yep. What did you already know, but now see in a different light? Just take some time and write. And then finally, what do you still need help with? Does anyone want to say anything that they need help with, or keep going?
We're good.
Okay. And so now we're going to move into revised thinking, where we're going to now get into groups, or we'll come into this one group if this is the one session that we have. And so we're going to discuss some of the insights and some of the ideas and really kind of revise our thinking by hearing from each individual and what their thoughts were, what they found surprising, what they're now seeing in different lights, and what they still need help with. Then we'll do the report out, where one representative will be selected to share out their ideas. And from there, we're going to, so we get the report out. And so this is the long-term potentiation section, where it's kind of like, okay, before you go, I just want you to, if there's one phrase or one thought or one concept that you think was the most important, or that you want to really, really, really hold on to and remember, and that you feel is most relevant or resonant for you, what would that be? Mm-hmm. Take that in. Okay, everyone, and then we'll check in on that next week. And so go forth, lead with purpose. Thank you. Sorry, wow. I was a little.
Wow, that was amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much.
It's
Thank
like
you. I'm sorry?
It's like you're just on staff. You're just what a beautiful deck. I mean, seriously, not only was I doing it with a critical ear, but I was in the audience and I wrote down a couple things that thought were
I've to be honest with you, it's been a very rough weekend, so I wanted to make sure I had it all in. But some of the stories, like the guy from Okinawa, like some of those things, they're more in my head, but I wasn't able to be as smooth as I would like, but they're there. Wow. Even Alice, it's like I was having guess what you call brain, I don't want to say farts, but brain spaz.
Fog.
Yeah. Brain fog. But that's the kind of through line. And of course, as I get better and I take things out and get your feedback, we'll go from there.
I only have tiny little things to say, and whoops, messed up the hair there.
Oh,
And
one
and
thing
there,
before you go. I also, did you notice Larry Fink? That was artificial intelligence that I made from a technology that I have called Play.ht. You can take it and select the voice. And so it was like a total
that
robot.
I assume that was a friend of yours, because
No,
I
it was
mean,
a
well, that was
robot.
a pretty good robot. I mean, that was it sounded like a business guy, kind of non-emotional, but a little bit, and going over the facts of the letter. So, I mean, it was perfect.
Yeah, I added the piece. That's what I have to ask you about, like, rule-wise, because I did add pieces in between. I mean, at the beginning and the end to make it feel a little warmer, but he didn't say those things. He just said the letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think, and I'll only go with a technical thing, and then Kieran, you jump in. But the only thing I would change with what you did, and I'd one change and one question. The change would be on video transitions. So when you go from one to the other, you do a little bit of a revert the default and become, now I'm going to show you a video from this guy.
Okay.
But the videos are so powerful, you don't need to do that. So like on that first one, well, actually I outlined the videos, and you had an overview video on purpose. Then you had a consultant, Simon's specific take on how businesses look at purpose. And then you had the investment firm take a stand on how business looked at purpose. And to me, the ultimate transition there would not be, and now I'm going to show you, or now we're going to look at, because that puts you in control and it's not like grabbing them. So right after the beginning where they ask that question and you go into the video, the first video, that's the first time you said, okay, now we're going to look at a couple videos and da-da-da-da-da-da. But after that first video, when you go into Simon, it would be nice to say, now that's how, that's an overview. How's this look from the business's standpoint when we're positioning a business? And you leave it with that question and boom, hit the video. And then after that video, when you go into the, oh, what was the guy's name? The business guy from the two name company. He was bald.
That's what you remember. Kevin Clashman.
Kevin Clashman. Yeah. He was the business guy. So Simon's saying, here's what I think business, here's my example of Apple. It'd be nice to say, but how does business look if you're the businessman? And then he comes on, and then, well, how does this look? How does purpose look when you're the company that's investing in businesses with or without purpose?
So you're saying use questions. That's powerful. So use questions to guide. Like, so how does it look this way? How does it look that way?
Yeah, because you kind of set it up, and he's a businessman. I just looked at their titles and how they looked at purpose, and I love that because I assumed that was intentional, because you did a big overview, and then you did a consultant, and then you did a business, and then you did the investment guy in all those businesses. So to me, that seemed like a natural progression of who you were speaking to, and it would be nice just to take you out of it. Like, I'm going to show you, or I liked it. One of the times you did say, let's look, which was nice because that included everybody. But I just like that part where I would put less to the intro of the video, because it's almost like a commercial or another, well, it is another perspective. And all you're doing is framing it when you put it up. That would be my only little deal there, because what was that? So it takes some time. Oh, the other thing was when you did the 3 R's, you just said, take some time to write your answer to this, or take some time to write your answer to this. Really nice if you give them 2 minutes and then give them the flexibility to answer all through those 3 questions in the 2 minutes.
So the whole section is 2 minutes, all the whole section.
For the reflection part where we do it ourselves. So take 2 minutes and answer these 3 questions. And then you put the 3 questions up there. That way they've got the structure for it. They see the 3 questions, they can bounce back and forth. And then and in that 2 minutes, you give them a 1 minute, a 30 seconds, a 10 second, a time. And then that way it's all them. But beyond that, I was just grinning from ear to ear. And those were just little technical things. And it was really, I loved your slides. They were simple. They were nice. They weren't too busy. I love the one at the end when you had the 4 P's on the bottom line. The one right prior to that, it would have been cool just to start with purpose and then add each one of those things as you talked about it. There was like 5.
And the stakeholders one.
Yeah. So we're talking about purpose. And then the first one might say, I can't remember what order they would go in, but it would be nice to bring them in. So purpose is really, the driver behind the business, the person, the motivation, the sell, I mean, whatever there were. But beyond that, Ozioma, that's rock star. I was super excited. But that's my quick direct feedback.
You gave good feedback, but I had to slap my hand a couple of times because, there's teachings that go with it. So I wanted to bring some stuff in. In fact, the last piece about the star, I didn't have that at first, but I was like, I just feel like they're not getting anything. So yeah.
No, quite the contrary. I mean, honestly, you've changed. I've got a meeting coming up on branding tomorrow for the final stuff because July 15th, we kick everything off for the 45 days prior to Kieran and I go into that Chicago thing. And you've actually changed just with what you've done here. And I'm supposed to watch it with it. There's a little more purpose that's going to be in our piece. So I don't know. That's my quick flyby. So Kieran.
So I have a much deeper flyby because I just spent the last probably 3 months working with 20 people who had to deliver last week. They were the people who did most of the work last week, and so I'm going to give you the brief one first, and I'm going to go deep into it. The first thing is you use the model beautifully, and that's really cool. The problem is your audience don't know the model, and so they didn't know where you were going. It'd be very good if there was a map at the beginning that says this is what's going to happen in the next hour, because this is going to take us an hour to get through, and we're going to talk about purpose, and the way it's going to work is and work from the back. At the end, you will be reporting out from a group, and the groups already have selected, and you can see them, or we're going to select them right now. And so then they know where they're going, and they actually know what's going to happen at the end. And then you say, before that, you're going to be in a discussion with your group to get the information that you're going to report out on. And before that, there will be a reflection. And then you'll be reflecting on the material that I'm going to give you. And that's where we're going to be for most of the class. And so you give them some kind of a map. So otherwise, we have no idea from the beginning where it's going or why. And that puts a lot of pressure on my working memory space. And since I already knew the map, it didn't put pressure on me, but I know my audience. My audience will be saying, where is she going? What am I supposed to do with all this? But having a sense of purpose with the class, in fact, is the purpose is that you're going to report out about what you learned in this class. And so now I know what's going to happen. And so that's the thing there was 2 things missing for me. That was one. And it's not your fault because you've got the model, nobody else does. But you can have that up as a site. We always do that when we go to a new company. We buy a frame that shows them the model. It says, you are here. The minute they know where they are, it empties their working memory space. And it's a visual. And so you either give them a visual or they already have it because you sent it them the night before or something. Mm-hmm. The second thing is you had all kinds of moments of disequilibrium in the thing, but you didn't start with a moment of disequilibrium. So why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? You talked about purpose at the beginning, and it was so nicely put together that I knew the answer, but I didn't have the feeling that I wanted to. Why do I need purpose? And so the sense of the disequilibrium piece needs to be very jolting. And the letter at the end by Larry Fink had pieces of it that could have been jolting if you put that at the beginning. Say, this is the reason that I wrote this letter, because people have hurt people. The bankers hurt the people. They broke their trust. And so that's the reason we're doing this. In other words, my moment of disequilibrium didn't engage me enough to stay with the why I want purpose. Everything else was beautiful around purpose, but why am I going to be in it? And so to bring me in, I needed some kind of serious disequilibrium. And
can I interrupt there?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, wasn't I caught disequilibrium, and there was a sign from Alice in Wonderland where you
That
had
was
all.
the one. That was the only
That
piece.
was what I was attempting to be disequilibrium, but maybe it didn't drive harder enough. So I'll get something. And then I had it followed up before by dystopia, but that's maybe. And I took the dystopia out, and I just kept that one slide. So maybe because I was talking about at where without it, we don't know where we're going, and at worst, we make bad decisions that lead us in the like.
And so that's a piece that you could have really worked in deeper. And the Alice in Wonderland, I wrote that down. Alice in Wonderland is disequilibrium. It's not enough. We all love Alice in Wonderland, but at the same time, it didn't draw me in enough. And so I really want to be like, when I want disequilibrium, it has to be serious disequilibrium. Typically, you've got, for my teachers, it's easy. There's a kid screaming, he's just cleared the class, and there's a policeman tying this kid up, taking him away. That's disequilibrium for everybody. And so we want some kind of discipline that gets my attention. Why do I need a sense of purpose? And because I think I've got sense of purpose. Most people think they have it. And so,
You'd be surprised. Maybe you're hanging out with the right people.
Right, yeah, maybe. But the point is that I didn't feel the disequilibrium hard enough. And so now let's get into the multiple perspectives. Now that you told them that they're going to get multiple perspectives, then they're going to get them. And you didn't tell me how many I was going to get, so I have no idea when you're going to stop giving me more information. So my brain can't handle all that much information, and I can't compartmentalize unless you tell me. So there's going to be 5 videos, and the first one is about this, the second one's about this, the third. I need to know what's coming. Otherwise, my working memory space gets overloaded. And so that's a very simple thing to do. You say, this is where we're going, and we're going to start with video number 1. Now, video number 1, which was the one where there was a lot of research, and she kept saying, 3 people gave us this. Who were those 3 people? We need to know. I mean, if those 3 people were important people or just Joe Blow. And that was pretty weird that to say Mary and John and Peter did this great research. Well, who was Mary and John and Peter? From the University of blah, 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 blah. And so what I would do with that video, which was a very good video, by the way, I would break it into 3 because there's 3 separate pieces in it. And those 3 pieces would be the 3 multiple perspectives that you either show, or you show one of them and say there are 2 more in your package when you go home to look at. But you don't have to have as many videos that you did have. You had way too many multiple perspectives, even though they were very, very good. I mean, they were fabulous. And so with my teachers last week, when they came with 15 pieces of fabulous information, I said to them, pick 3, and the others you put in a package and you give them to take home. And people love that because they got to do it on their own time. But you didn't overload them in the class itself. And so the overloading part is really important because you're talking about puny brains here who are already busy people. And I'm not talking about puny brain, I'm talking about puny working memory spaces, tiny, tiny, tiny. And when you fill them up by putting them in a class with no map of where they're going, now you put me in stress. I have no idea how long more I'm going to watch these videos. See, I'm getting into the pedagogical part of it instead of the content part of it. And so your content was genius. The pedagogy was suspect. And so to get it really beautiful, you need to just help people to know where you're going. And that's your purpose, to help them get to the end and still be saying, wow, this was incredible. But I don't remember, I had to take a lot of notes to stay with you. And so that there isn't that fire hose effect, because we don't want to fire hose people. We want to give them enough time. So you could have done it this way. I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying you could have. When you finished the first video, which had 3 parts to it, you could have said, okay, we're going to take a break here. There's 2 more videos coming and a letter, but I want you to write down anything that you found surprising about this first video and leave it at that. Just leave the surprising part. And then you go to the next part, which had to do with, let's see, Ikigai, which was really beautiful. And say, now, about Ikigai, anything about that surprised you, or anything you knew but now seen a different light. So you're introducing your questions slowly to them and helping them, you're taking them along. And then the last part, you got Larry Fink, and you had Simon Sinek and then Larry Fink. So you had 4 separate, beautiful pieces of information. And now at the end of that, anything surprising about Larry Fink or anything surprising. So you're helping them as opposed to saying, okay, what was surprising about the whole episode? Because that's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. Okay.
So beyond that, you have way too much brilliant stuff. And how do you get it to your audience? And so that they can find their voice, because when you step back and they start talking, that's where you have the magic. Does that make sense, Rich?
It does, and there is parts of that I'm remiss in, like earlier, she had a model of the challenge wheel in the original presentation. It was towards the end, and we weeded that out.
Yeah, but you don't have to have the challenge wheel in there, but you just need to say where you're going. So this is going to take an hour. There's going to be a report out at the end, which is 20 minutes. And I'm going to give you 15 minutes of materials, and you're going to be working with your group for 25 minutes. Do you see what I'm saying? Once we know what we're doing. Now, the beautiful thing about my week last week was after day one, they knew exactly what they were doing. So all week long, they had no cognitive load. And it was so simple because they knew there was only 3 questions. They knew they were going to talk about things and report out. And that freed them up to be in their working memory space all the time without having to have any kind of overload happen to them.
So in those wheels, Kieran, did every day you say, okay, we're here for an hour and we're going to have 5 interviews?
Yes. First thing in the morning, they always knew where they were going to be all day long.
All right.
Yeah, so that we put a very serious agenda up. So they said at 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, we're going to be in this wheel and you'll be doing the 3 questions, the whole thing. They knew that then. And then from 10 to 12, you'll be doing your own work on your Keystone with your colleagues over the web and stuff. So they knew exactly where they were going to be. It took all the pressure off of what's coming next. The unpredictability, uncertainty, all that stuff is very difficult on the working memory brain. And then when the new people show up, like, Larry Fink and Simon Sinek and Jennifer Acker, these are new people coming into my life, and I wasn't expecting them, and here they are. So I have to help my people walk through their own problems, which is their, overloaded little brains.
So every hour, every wheel, then, and this is a slight nuance because of this, because of the institute that you just finished, you're saying that the map of the hour, regardless of if we do a week full of wheels, the hour itself kind of has a terminal objective beginning. I don't want to call them terminal objectives, but you are saying instead of in this hour, we're going to cover these 3 points, that would be behaviors. You're saying in this hour, we're going here's the 30,000 foot view of what's happening. And then you dive into it.
All I'm doing is I'm just helping you find who you are in my hour. Say, what am I going to be doing for this hour? I'm going to be in a group reporting out at the end, and backing up from that, I'm going to give you some information, and this is how you're going to get it. Okay. And once they figured that out, the whole week is a piece of cake. And so we have to just basically walk them through it's a threat response of uncertainty and unpredictability. Once that's all solid, then they're with you. Basically, you're co-creating the space. It's not me throwing stuff over the wall to them. They're co-creating the space with me. And then I'm very careful that every video is less than 2 minutes.
Okay, that was okay. Less than 2 minutes. Okay.
Yes. If anything goes, if it's more than 2 minutes, I apologize to them first. Say one of these videos is a small bit over 2 minutes, and I say, I'm gonna put it up here on, when I give them a video, I always put the amount of time up on the video, because then they know what's coming. Because that first video with Jennifer Acker was a fabulous video. In fact, I want to get that. You need to send me that. But the thing is, it was a fabulous video, but I didn't know when it was going to finish. Yeah. And so therefore,
I was trying to do them less than 5 minutes, but even I was like, this is long, but I don't know. But okay, good. Thank you.
But you got 3 videos there. That's not one video. That's 3. You had 3 separate things in that video. So that's your whole class right there. You could get rid of Fink and Simon Sinek and all those people.
But for the business leaders, they probably want to hear some. Maybe they've probably already seen Simon Sinek. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
Because you don't want Simon Sinek talking and Fink talking. You want your people talking. And then when they're finished talking, they'll say, is there more? Say, oh yeah, there's Simon Sinek and there's Fink. Then you give it to them when they ask for it, not you throwing it over the wall at them. When they say, wow, this is fantastic, is there more? Now you've actually gotten them.
I guess what I was trying to do was to curate different types of people that are also like their peers, right? Because the presentation is going to probably be with business leaders. So what I was trying to do, and I agree with you about the length of them being very long, what I probably would do would take the purpose point part of the Stanford one. Yep. But I feel like some of that adds texture to make people feel like this is part of my world, especially even so I'll think about how to curate it to three videos, less than 2 minutes, you're saying?
Yeah, so you that beautiful video of Jennifer Aker was a fabulous video, but there's actually 3 videos there from the point of view of pedagogy.
The first one, the first section of it.
Yeah, but this is what you do then. You come back, and instead of saying, when you come back, instead of saying, there you have it, instead of saying that, you say, isn't she fantastic? Now, guess what? There are 2 more in your package from her. But I want to move on to Aigekai. And so now they say, oh, yeah, there's more Jennifer Acker. And so you're the person that's saying to them, look, this is just a small bit of what's available, and I can help you get more. And then they say to you, we want more. Instead of saying, whoa, that's a lot. Can you stop? Can you back? I'm like overloaded. So that's where you want to be in terms of pedagogy. You want to help your people like tippy-toe through this because you know this stuff so well. And they're just beginning to see it. And you're co-creating the space. See, Simon Sinek doesn't co-create spaces. He lectures. You're co-creating a space. And so he comes off as too clean, too sanitized, and you say, yeah, that's Simon Sinek. But he's good. But you're co-creating a space. You want your people to talk and to be engaged in coming up with solutions because that's when they have agency. And that. Then the
question is this though, because for example, and I think Simon Sinek obviously I didn't want to show his whole thing, right? So I was able to get the 5-minute one. But many people have seen that talk, but they have forgotten about it. And so that golden circle, having that, if it's not in a video, how does it get in to the conversation?
So all you say is, look at, and I'm not the only person who owns this. Simon Sinek has this amazing piece on the golden circle. And then you switch into 1 minute of Simon Sinek saying, this is the golden circle. And then put the whole 5 minutes of the whole TED Talk.
So you're saying I have to be editing.
Yes.
But what if I don't have permission to edit this? Because again, this is YouTube stuff, or am I just stopping it at the point, or am I trying to grab it and edit it? Because
just clip grab and take it out and then say, put it up there. It's up on the web and YouTube anyway. He's selling that stuff. And the last thing then is people don't know what long-term potentiation is. And so what you want to do there is you want to say to them things like, I really enjoyed working with you guys today. And my word to say what this is about you is that I feel, whatever the word is, I feel so impressed with what we have created together. Could you please give me back a word? And you're going to just, because if you're meeting with them next week, then you can bring that back up and say, this is fantastic. Let's go back to that word we use. And thank you for giving me the word. But you don't have to do it in a neuroscience way like long-term potentiation. We do that because we're teaching teachers about the brain. But for you, you're teaching people about purpose, not about long-term potentiation. So you just use it and you don't have to get explicit about that. Otherwise, I mean, I now know an awful lot about purpose. Again, it was fabulous. And so your material is beautiful. It's your brilliant content. Now you get your pedagogy in line with your material and you will be ignited, on fire.
Thank you so much. This was very helpful from both of you. How do we close the session?
Well, if I was closing the session like I did last week, I'd give you a big party, but...
What does that look like, a big party?
Big party is we took photographs of the whole week of people working, doing stuff. And then we had graduation music and we gave them a lovely certificate and we played the video of what they did all week and people just loved it.
But what they did all week, but they were in their rooms. So how did you show videos of what they did all week?
We were in the rooms in groups of 12 for a couple of hours each. And so everybody in the room took pictures and they submitted them to one person at the end of the week we had this beautiful, and people wrote songs and did dances and drew pictures and mind maps and beautiful stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah. In fact, I'll share my screen of a mind map because I know you like mind maps.
I do.
Oh, it's incredible. It's a credible one.
Yeah.
I love that song too by the Beatles. That couple did.
He did a nice job, didn't he?
Yeah.
He wanted to sing all week. That's all he wanted to do. and we said eventually, look, okay, bring your guitar. We'll let you sing. I'm sharing at this point.
Okay.
And this was one of the teachers did this mind map.
Oh, wow. Yes.
And again, that was the way she wanted to express what happened for her. And so this is a long-term potentiation, and we shared it to everybody.
Wow.
And then he sang a song, and other people wrote letters, and it was just amazing. But
This is wonderful.
Is that nice?
That's wonderful.
What in that flower above Raz? What do the petals say?
The flower above Raz.
Like top right hand corner there. It's self-awareness, self-management, social interactions. Is that interaction?
Uh-huh.
Oh, social awareness.
Social awareness, yeah.
Responsible decision making. And what's that? Relationship building?
Yes, relationship building.
Okay.
Good. You got good eyes there. Yeah.
Well, what was fun about it, as soon as you popped it up, Ozioma understood it all. You could tell. Look.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Look, the greenhouse, orchid, dandelions.
Wow.
She said, be careful. She said, my spelling is not good. The paradigm shift. I love that. PFC, PL, OL, TL.
Parietal lobe.
Yeah, different lobes. She was, yeah.
Wow, this is amazing.
And so basically, as the week went by, she was drawing pictures, and so we collected stuff all week. And then at the end, we had this big party where we threw a collage of music and stuff up, and people just said goodbye to each other. They didn't leave for 2 hours afterwards. We were trying to close the place down. We said, "Okay, you guys, beautiful sunny day, go home." And they're still there 2 hours later, saying, "Yeah, we had a great time." Blah, blah.
Wow, you're playing the last call for alcohol music.
Yeah.
They're like, we want a pie. Hey, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
And so basically, you're just co-creating, and the fact you're saying that everybody in the room is amazing potential. This is all about potential and purpose, and so now let's do that. Instead of talk about it, let's do it. And that's the pedagogy part, that hidden piece in the middle where you, as the genius with all the content, know how to make it happen for all the people.
Great. So where do we go from here?
Well, yeah, I want you to be teaching in our academy. I mean, you've got the content, and now you have the model, and that's where you should be, is teaching this material.
Yeah, I want to. So maybe next week, our next session can focus on pedagogy and all this other stuff. I can go deeper in that, or are we? I don't even know where we are on our journey. I know that this was supposed to be the presentation where I share, but then where do we go from here? Of course, yes, I will teach in the academy. I would love to, and I'd love to obviously get better and refine some more things. But I guess this was so how do I say this? I felt like when we spoke before, you also have to remind me what you wanted to talk about with the mind map that we were supposed to speak about that Sunday that we never got to.
Oh, you did a mind map, didn't you?
Yeah, and you said that you had something you wanted to share, and we never got to, then you had to go away. So I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I printed it out.
So while he's looking for that, Ozioma, this is what I would recommend, because we talked about it, if I'm answering your question right. It would be great to meet next week about pedagogy. Okay. In the next 3 months, what we'd like you to do as far as that faculty and as the kind of final project is what would that project be, and take your time in building it, because I know you've got a lot of things going on, but let's get that project built out and placed on like the Neuroscience or Learning Academy or whatnot, but work on that, and not necessarily a weekly basis, but now you're part of the herd basis. So when you have time and you're working on this piece, reach out via email or ask to say, can we meet on Zoom, for an hour tomorrow or what have you. and we build towards that ideal. And that ideal is really to be defined by you. You've obviously got a message. You teach a number of different things. If it's purpose, if it's exponential potential, or what have you, that's where we'd like to go forward. It's like, now you have these underpinnings. You still have us on your team. You'll always have us on your team. Let's get to that final project that is either this one or one of your choosing, and we get it up on a platform, and we work with you towards that ideal over a less strict time constraint, meaning like in the next 3 months, how it best works with your schedule.
Okay.
Does that answer your finalization question?
It does answer, but not fully yet, because okay. So when did we start? We started, has it been 3 months already?
It has been 3 months.
So when do I consider to myself to be certified? Because I thought that having this project and doing this presentation was part of the certification, but is it not?
It is. No, it's definitely. And it's just that stair step to it. So we want the final project. So the final project, this is the final project, and this is whittling on the final project, but you coming back with this would be the final project. So if this is what you want to be your piece that, say, would be taught online with others things, then let's just finish it up and put it up there, and that will be it. That will be your certification. The pedagogy, though, because you have that question, I think now we have to answer it and come back with it, because pedagogy is different, as you know, than a presentation. And one of those nuances coming out of the Institute, at least from what I heard from Kieran, is a different little, not different, but a more focused nuance, because I think of it, did you see that sign I held up when he was talking about it?
No.
I'll,
I think I had.
Yeah, the sign.
Oh yeah. Okay. Uh-huh.
I left that out when we were speaking, because in my head I know it's in the room, and so you don't have that. But when we talk about the hour, I'll sit there and say, rather than this is brain-centric design, I'll say, now this is going to be a different hour than you're used to, and it's broken into a couple parts. So let me get you familiar with it, and then I'll briefly go through. At the beginning, I'm going to introduce some things. And have you lean in and capture your thoughts on it. Then I'm going to give you some perspectives about it. You're going to have time to think about it. You're going to have time to talk about it. And we're going to have time to report out about it. And I kind of do it like that. I have not, on rare occasions, I have not said I've got 5 videos from Simon and Vicky and Frank and Bob. That specificness is a nuance introduced to me here on a hour-by-hour basis. So Kieran, on the final project, do you want to address that real quick before you go into the mind map?
So do we have one more meeting? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's what I understood, and this is just me trying to, because I don't want to have to wait another 3 months to get certified.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I thought the certification process was 3 months, right? So we're doing this journey. I present what I presented, I refine it, and then either present again, and then that would be with the feedback on pedagogy, et cetera, and then that would be the closing of the certification. And then part of joining faculty would be the next part of adding the project up. I didn't think that having something on the site would be the, how do I say, like,
the final thing?
Yeah. So
yeah, to me, I feel like, if we're saying the certification is 3 months, and that part of certification was having a project, which I presented the first draft of it, to me, being certified would be predicated upon getting more wisdom on the pedagogy, refining that project, and presenting again.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And then from there, I get certified upon the adequate approval of that presentation, and or putting it out to people and saying, registering people and actually doing a live workshop. So it would either be I do a simulation for you guys, or I just basically say, hey guys, I'm going to be running, and inviting people. So that to me would have been the prerequisite and the completion of my certification.
Yeah. So what I did in the last 3 months, I took the 20 people, and every single one of them had to make a presentation live to an audience around the world. And that was a big risk because it was the first time going live, and all the mistakes popped up there. But the people in the audience knew that there was a trial going on. They wanted it so bad, they were willing to do that with us. So we had up to 20, 30, 40 people on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. from all over the world. And they would come in, and our new teachers would then make their presentation, and then we'd come back and refine it. And then last week they went live for the first time in a real situation. So you're right, that now you have some feedback. You should refine that, come back and show us what you're going to do for the final piece, and then that's it, basically. Very close. I mean, you're almost there. I would take you today and have you teaching my classes, no problem.
I would too.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to obviously refine. Once I get the links, I'll refine based off of what I've learned. But then next week, I definitely would love a pedagogy presentation.
Yeah.
I mean, conversation more deep, dedicated to pedagogy. Yeah. And then the following week, if possible, or the week after that, I would love to just.
If you could send us that presentation with the links all that, then I could show you what that pedagogy would look like.
Perfect.
Yeah, and work with you on that. We should co-create it. And so I'm going to share my screen to show you what I've got going here. And this again, very high level. This was very impressive. I mean, this is huge. And basically what you've done is you've taken the 7 layers of literatures and put it onto one page. And that's almost impossible to do. And so I just wanted to point out a couple of things that make sense to me, or kind of like got my attention. First of all, I would never put these two in the same, so I don't know why you put them together, because they're two separate concepts. Imagination is very big deal, different from action potential. So separate them out. I mean, that's one thing. Orchids and dandelions, again, that's genetics and epigenetics. You go higher up, and orchids and dandelions fit underneath that as separate issues. Okay. The whole point of the agency cube, again, that's self-regulation, and then agency is a part of that. So self-regulation is a very critical big idea. So I'm getting to the big ideas because this is a kind of a map of big ideas, I think. And then this one here, this one caused me the most problems because it's too hard to, it doesn't represent it in the correct way, because these are continuums, and you need to see them as continuums. They're not just words, they're continuums, and misrepresenting them into words causes them to lose their energy, I think. So mindset is the word, it's not growth mindset, and mindset has fixed and growth. Motivation is the word, it's not intrinsic, it's extrinsic to intrinsic. And expertise is the word, and it's routine to adaptive. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yes, got it.
And so that clarifies it a bit better. But beyond that, I love what you've done with it. It's just genius that you got it all into one page, and it gives me, I see this in a 3D way. I don't see it as flat like it shows up here, and I see it moving as well, and that gives it an awful lot of energy for me. So I love the fact that the model sits over here. That's really nice. I love the nested egg over here, and it comes out of this area. I'm interested to why you put the agency cube right up underneath Brain Center Design. I don't know where it fits, but you stuck it in there anyway. I could think we could spend a week just playing around with these and moving them, I think, to make it, just because I think the more we talk about it, the more we could move it.
It was just more so about like room on the page. And then in addition to that, kind of like, okay, nested egg, challenge wheel, how we operate from the foundational basic to the brain. And then the idea of the 3 shifts, or the mindset, motivation, expertise, kind of being at the center. Yeah. And so the line is kind of going from how the brain works, the center, and then
yeah. See, I see you have.
I'm doing it not kind of like chakra kind of thing, like kind of alignment from how we work, how the brain works, and kind of like the agency cube, or the idea of the foundational mindset, motivation, expertise is like at the center.
I love it. Yeah. So you got the prefrontal cortex and the occipital and the parietal and all that. I got
And
it.
there's more. And dopamine, I was
Yeah.
trying to just get some of the things
Yeah.
there. Obviously, it's not everything, but I was just trying to think about what are the key things that I need to remember when I'm thinking of the world of BCD.
Yeah, I printed it out and I look at it regularly because it's such a beautiful representation. I'm not done with it yet. We need to spend more time
Yes,
with it.
let's evolve it too.
Yeah.
Whatever, because for me, it would be great as a learning tool. Like, so there's certain things that I feel that, you know, I know we're kind of evolving the way the certification works, but in the same way, like I asked, like, you know, what does it mean to be a BCID? These kind of things, like something like this that has all the main concepts in a way that you can get a hold of. Like what I did is I basically like color coded. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I can see. Yes.
I've color coded sections
Yeah.
of the terminology so I understand where to go and where to think of things. But just for someone who's coming into the world, even a script of what does a typical or an hour-long training, what are the things that we have to remember to, I know I don't want to be that prescriptive, but it does help to know what it is, so that then you can remix it yourself and make sure that like the quality standards of delivery are at least consistent across people coming across, you know, over time.
So what you've got here, of course, is a course. This is a year-long course that you could teach each of these things as a packet, and each one could be a class with 100 people in it. This is you could be making a fortune at this.
Well, I want to teach. I think for me, yes, there's my own work, but I actually want to teach. I realized I actually want to teach BCD. Like, yes, there's me using it for my own stuff and teaching my stuff through it, but I feel like a great benefit is being able to teach it.
See where I'm going with this, Rich? She could be teaching this out here as one of her courses. You could just start off with, let's take a look at the challenge wheel and why we do that. That's a 3-week course right there.
No, I totally agree. And I also looked at this just slightly different than you did, Kieran. I looked at it as if she was driving and had a recipe and needed to do this as she moved forward. So like when I go into a course, when I, Ozioma, go into a course, first of all, I've got to make sure I've got growth mindset, intrinsic motivation, adaptive expertise in there. I got to go in, not that there's an either or, not that this was a teaching vehicle. I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it as I'm in the middle. I'm brain-centric design. I got to remember I've got the egg and the wheel. I know my brain works. I've got to think these things as I'm doing my stuff. And as I go forward, I've got to have this mindset, this motivation, and this expertise. And when I present it, I'm going to do it in backwards design. I'm going to be the conductor of my dinner party. I'm going to avoid Amy at all points. I'm going to make sure I give cognitive rehearsal throughout. And every time I show a presentation on a big idea, I'm going to activate every lobe. Yep. That's how I read this.
Yes, and that's what I was doing. You're exactly right, Rich. But I also love where Kieran went with it, because it is actual curriculum. And I'm like, whoa, yeah. Like if I were to teach like the short foundation, it would be boom, 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 4-week, 5-week course.
What I see, of course, it's a starship. It's taking us into the future. This is a beautiful starship. And it looks like something out of, you know, science fiction, and it's beautiful. Each one of these is a teaching unit, and each one is probably.
It is. I didn't even see that. You're absolutely. I see it now because you're seeing it, but I see it now. It's like a course on the nest today, the challenge wheel, the introduction to. Yes, it is that. Wow, amazing.
All right.
Okay.
We'll meet again next week, then Monday morning.
We will, and I guess I will send you the presentation with the links in it, and Rich, you will, I guess, send me a link to this so that I can then start making modifications.
What I'll also do, Ozioma, is give you a really nice linear step to BCID certification, so that you've got a timeline. You know what happens here. Here's what we can do afterwards. Here's the things that are available to you, so that you can have closure on the certification and use that in the timing for whatever you may need locally with the PhD or presentations or.
My goal is to complete the certification in the next 3 weeks, maximum this month, like end of this month. But like this is the certification month to get it, so we're just complete.
And then it will happen, and I'll give a 1, 2, 3 on that, so you'll know and can sleep well tonight.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. This is really. I'm really happy with this session. I'm happy with what I've learned, what I hope to bring, what you guys are giving, what you guys are sharing. I feel like, okay, like I understand a lot more, especially even in terms of the videos, content, the transitions, because some of that stuff was a little like, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's try. I'm based off of the eye video. And I was trying to like estimate from that video and go from there with just what I thought could be.
No,
Cool.
and you can see, I mean, you're there, but now it's just, oh, you know, a little this and a little there. Because again, the model, if you just take the comment, like, you work the model beautifully, you know, and that's just it. You know, you did, without a doubt, you had the model in there.
Yeah.
And not only in there, but solid, and every piece of it. But just itsy bitsy little things make it different. And the focus on the pedagogy, some of the stuff I took for granted because I was looking purely personally when we were speaking last week, is at the model with your content. I almost wasn't looking, after hearing Kieran, and it makes perfect sense, I wasn't looking at a group consensus, and he's been immersed in 1,200 people for the last 7 days, and he's fresh out of it. In fact, we have not even briefed. We had a brief conversation yesterday when I was in my truck picking up my dogs, because I was up in a cabin on Mount Hood for the last 3 days finishing up some marketing stuff. So it's been great to hear this, and this is going to be a great follow-up. And next week, I actually can't wait for now. So.
Yeah, and I'm actually teaching, you guys will love this, it's not going to be in the VCD model, but I'm teaching to my first cohort of corporate board members for the Boardroom Africa. I was hired to teach strategic planning with a visionary lens. So I'm going to actually be teaching to this entire, it's exciting.
When you say Boardroom Africa, what does that mean?
It's an organization called the Boardroom Africa. They're like one of the top organizations for putting Africans on boards throughout the continent and also in Europe, and I think increasingly the States, and it's primarily women African board members. So
we need to talk more about that, because I'm just bringing the whole project and model to Kenya teachers, and I'm working with Jay Shapiro, who's he just started Gumzo, which is it's a video conferencing system that came out of Nairobi. It's $1 a week for African for local people. It's $1 a week and he's got the whole thing systemized. He's from Canada, and I've got a bunch of people at the education department level talking to me about bringing education change. So we should do that together.
Yes.
Well, and is that the same core group of people that you work with every year in Africa? That's a different group.
It's gotten bigger. I started off with that core group, and now the word has spread, and they're also very broken at the moment because of the COVID thing, and they need to be able to connect to teachers and students, and without good Wi-Fi, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the times I'm in meetings there's blackouts, people with candles, and it's just crazy because they don't have great electricity, they don't have great Wi-Fi, and it's a big deal.
Yep. Same thing in Nigeria. It's terrible.
I'm going to put your mind map in the brain. I've shown you the brain before, haven't I?
You have shown me the brain.
Yeah, because I think when you look at it, when you look at what she has like this, and you're able to pop on something and see all the other stuff, and pop on that and see all the other.
Yeah.
I think that's what I saw with her thing. So I'm going to put it in this format too, just for my own exercise.
Yeah.
But fabulous job, Ozioma. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. So till next week, and in the meantime, we'll be sending things through the interwebs.
Yes.
And we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.